I love the smell of fresh herbs. Hi everybody, and you're very welcome back to Cloughan Farm Cookery School. Today I'm going to share with you all a delicious recipe for a stuffed pork fillet. Absolutely gorgeous. And I'm also going to show you how to make a brandy and mushroom sauce to go along with it. So this is our this is our pork fillet here, and this is our pancetta that we're going to wrap it in. But before we start with the meat, we're going to do the stuffing. So I'll just put that to one side. So for the stuffing, we're going to use some fresh breadcrumbs. I'm using toasted, I lightly toasted some walnuts, but you can of course use hazelnuts, pine nuts, but toast them, give them a light little toasting, or you can leave them out. I'm also using some dates here. Another alternative would be, you could use prunes, you could use apricots, dried apricots, or again leave them out, but they'll give a nice little bite and a nice little moistness and texture to your stuffing. So I do think you should try it. If you've never tried it before, do try it, it will surprise you. So what I did with the dates here, I just steeped them in a little bit of water. That's when you buy them, sometimes they can be a little bit firm and sticky. So what I just did was, for half an hour, I just steeped them in a little bit of boiling water, or maybe a little bit less, and it softens them up a little bit. We're going to use some fresh lemon, zest of fresh lemon, and of course some of our beautiful herbs this time of year, which will be thyme. So into our breadcrumbs, we're adding our walnuts. We'll add in the zest. Now you could use orange or lime as an alternative in your stuffing, instead of the zest or the lemon. That's our lemon, gorgeous flavour. The next thing I'm going to do is our dates. So just roughly in small little pieces, just like that. Now they still can be quite sticky, but they'll come apart. But that's roughly the size you want there, okay? And in we add our lovely, moist, juicy dates. Okay. And the next thing, I'll just wipe down our counter. Some beautiful, I'm using thyme. This time of year, thyme or rosemary or sage, two lovely, or three, a few there of the hard herbs that you could use. So just finely chop up your thyme. Very important, especially with the hard herbs this time of year, in the winter time. Give them a nice fine chop. And if you're thinking of getting somebody a Christmas present, and they may like to do a bit of gardening, always an investment in some hard herbs is always a great investment, and it's like the enhancement that they give to food is unbelievable. So that's nice and fine there, just like that. And as I said, you could use, if you didn't want to use thyme in here, you could use sage, you could use rosemary, equally lovely. And after our thyme, a nice little bit of seasoning, some salt and some freshly ground black pepper. So we just mix that all together, just like that. It's a dry stuffing now, it's not like your traditional stuffing with your melted butter. So we give all that a mix. And the next thing is getting on to this bad boy. So this is the fillet, as I said. So what I'm going to do here with the pancetta first, I have a baking tray lined with parchment paper. So just to make it easier, I'm just going to take the single layers of pancetta and line them along like so. So that's it, a slight little overlap on them, and that's that ready. We may need to add a little few in at the end, but that's much easier to do it now the way I have that done. And remember, parchment paper, we'll have to seal off our fillet first. So what we do is pop our fillet up onto a board. We just, with a good sharp knife, and be very careful. What we're going to do is basically butterfly the fillet. So we just go in like that, and we don't want to cut the whole way through. So just be careful, just like that. So once you get an incision made, start pulling it back and separating it like so. Now, if you were to go the whole way through in a part of it, don't worry about that. I wouldn't panic too much, because when it's wrapped in the pancetta, and if you want to just check that you're not going too far, just put your finger there and you'll feel the thickness you know, you'll know if you have another little bit give, if it'll give another little bit for you. So the pork fillet is so affordable and it's unbelievably tasty. You know, for the price of it and the taste of it, and especially with this sauce, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm just kind of going to stretch it out there a little bit like that, just flatten it out. Okay. So then we take our tray of pancetta and we just gently in over the center. And I actually know by looking at that now, I need another little pancetta at the end there, so I'll add it in just like that, and another little bit on top. Okay, and we take our tray or our fillet and just leave it in like so, and then we come along and then just place your stuffing, give it a little squeeze to bring it together, just like that, stuffing along the center. This stuffing recipe is enough for 2, and the recipe I'm giving you is enough for 2 pork fillets. Just turn it around, just easier there for you to see it. And I just take literally this part of it and then join it up here, just like that. And as I'm coming up along the fillet, just bring my pancetta over each side and carry on until we get to the end. And that's it, we're near at the end. That's lovely. Now, instead of pancetta, you can always use nice streaky bacon. Just give it with the back of a knife stretched out and make it nice and thin. You could use back rashers, rindless. So just gently lift up your fillet there at the end, just at the very end, and just before you start going down, just give it a tie it, just like so, like that. Now it's quite like you can work with it, the fillet, so it's absolutely fine. It's not going to break apart or anything like that. So just give that a little bit of a knot, okay? And then you just start, then just gently come down along your fillet and just give it a little bit of a, run your, oh, let me take this off altogether. Running in around like so. And this just kind of helps to keep your pancetta on your pork fillet as it's cooking in the oven. Just like that.
Is that butcher's twine?
No, this is actually just ordinary. It's kind of like, it wouldn't be as strong as butcher's twine, but it's like a little bit short there now. So it's the very same you'd use for plum puddings or something like that. So what I'm actually doing, I'm a bit shorter. So what I will do there is I just knot that now. And if that happens to you at home, just knot that one. Okay. And we'll start off with another little piece. So that's it. When you get to the end, just tuck it in under the existing twine and just loop it around like that. And that's it. And as I said, it just keeps the pancetta on. You don't have to wrap it too tight, and don't wrap it too tight, because if you wrap it too tight as it cooks, it'll cook into it and it'll cut into it. So now what we're going to do there, we're going to get a good hot pan and we're going to sear it off before we put it into the oven. So a good have your pan good and hot, in with a little bit of rapeseed oil, and we're just going to pick up our pancetta now, and what we're doing is sealing it. Just like that. Don't worry if it doesn't fit into your pan. You can move it to, as you can see where it's not browning, you can move it along. And we're also going to add in a few sprigs of mint and a little bit of butter, just to give that a nice kind of a browning on the outside. Just tip it gently over like that. I'm using a fish slice. Okay. And don't worry about having to bend it to get in, because that will straighten up when you get it on your roasting tin. When you pop it back onto your parchment paper here, you'll be able to straighten it up there. So we'll give that another couple of minutes. And the thyme, I might have said, I think I said mint a minute ago, that's actually thyme. I'm sure you knew that. That just gives it a flavour. Our fillet is nicely sealed off. So just carefully and gently lift it onto our pan like so, okay, or tray. So you see there how it straightens up, and there's nothing to worry about at all. And what I'm going to do now is pop that into a preheated oven, 160 degrees roughly, not too warm. And while that's in the oven, we're going to get on with making our brandy and mushroom sauce. The next thing we're going to do now is our lovely brandy and mushroom sauce. So the reason we want to use the same pan is all them lovely flavours are there from sealing it off. I've removed the old sprigs of thyme, they're spent, and it might give us a cloudy kind of a sauce. So we're going to put on some fresh thyme in here. We've thinly sliced up our mushrooms and just up in the high heat. And now what I'm going to do is add in our brandy, and that'll help to release the flavours from our pan, and we're going to saute them now for a couple of minutes until the mushrooms are just cooked. So our mushrooms are nice, they're softened down there. The next thing I'm going to add in is some lovely double cream, and use the good quality Avonmore. Our own Lakeland Dairies doesn't do double cream now as far as I know, but Avonmore, good quality double cream. So add it all in like that, and we let that simmer for 2 minutes till it slightly thickens. Now I've switched off the heat and I have removed, well almost, I thought I had, the thyme from the pan. You see the way our sauce is nice and thick? So now what I'm going to do is just going to season it a little bit. I do find when the brandy is in there and also using the herbs, you don't need as much seasoning. So I'm just going to heat that up again a little bit and just let that seasoning penetrate through the sauce, and that is ready to serve. I've had our pork fillet in the oven for about 35 minutes. As I said, I've preheated at 160 degrees, and that looks absolutely gorgeous, lovely. That's absolutely delicious. So I'm going to let that rest for about 10 or 15 minutes. But I just want to show you there, you see them juices? Absolutely gorgeous. What I'm going to do with those juices in a few minutes, when this is finished resting, I'm going to pour them juices back in with the cream and brandy sauce and the mushrooms. Delicious. So the next thing I'm going to do with our fillet, I'm going to transfer it onto our board, just like that. We've allowed it to rest. Okay. And I'm going to serve it on our platter here. So what we do is just go in and remove your string. So just move it around. I'm going to get the widest end first. I'm going to slice it just like that. Good sharp knife, absolutely gorgeous. And we keep going like that until we get the whole way down, and then we transfer it onto our platter. And the most difficult thing you'll find here now, the cameraman keeps stealing the little burnt parts of pancetta. And if he didn't get them, I'd be stealing them as well. So that's it. And we're down to the last little bit there. And doesn't it really look nice? I'm going to just move it up a little bit there. Just like that. Now, so what I like to do is just get your little bit of sauce and just go down along the sides of it. And then when people are helping themselves at the table, they can just lift off a slice or two or three or four of their pork, and then a spoon or two of this beautiful sauce. And that's all our beautiful sauce. Delicious. So I like to garnish it now, just for presentation obviously, just with a few little sprigs of rosemary, some little bit of thyme. You obviously wouldn't eat this, but just for the garnish of it. So that's our lovely pork and brandy and mushroom sauce. Served, I have served it like a buffet style. Sorry, you can see the lovely stuffing going through it there. But ideal for the centre of the table. Everybody can help themselves. Really affordable, but absolutely gorgeous. No compromise on taste. So I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much. This is brought to you courtesy of Westmead Library Services. Stay safe, everyone.